Two of the most famous Fox News hosts, Ainsley Earhardt and another high-profile co-host, are reportedly dating, but you wouldn't know it from their public behavior. They have chosen to keep their relationship secret, leaving many wondering why they don't discuss it openly. Despite the rumors, the couple remains silent about their personal lives. Their decision to stay private is something that intrigues many, especially considering the high level of scrutiny placed on public figures. However, their choice to avoid discussing their relationship might be explained by their desire to maintain focus on their professional work and personal boundaries. Keep watching to uncover the reasons behind their secrecy and why they might prefer to keep their romance away from the public eye. In a shocking and deeply emotional turn of events, Ainsley Earhardt, a beloved Fox News personality, left viewers stunned when she made a heartfelt revelation during a live Fox and Friends segment. It was a rare moment of vulnerability for the charismatic and confident co-host, known for her tough yet fair interviewing style. Ainsley has long been a fixture of Fox News, having conducted impactful interviews with the biggest names in politics, entertainment, and beyond. However, on that fateful day, her usual composure was replaced by emotion as she addressed something personal. She praised Sean, her colleague, for being an incredible person who had been a great help to the team, while also paying tribute to others in her life who had helped her career and supported her in difficult times. Known for her sharp wit, quick instincts, and warm smile, Ainsley Earhardt had become a household name and an influential voice in American journalism. Yet on this particular day, as Ainsley spoke about people who had impacted her life, including her late mother, it became clear that the co-host of Fox and Friends was dealing with personal grief. Ainsley took the audience through an emotional journey, recalling the loss of her mother, Dale Earhardt, who passed away at 72. For Ainsley, this was more than just a somber moment. It was a moment where her grief met her public persona. Despite the sadness, Ainsley made a courageous decision to continue with her work, despite the emotional toll it was taking. Her reasons were clear. Her mother would have wanted her to press forward and fulfill her role in the public eye. As Ainsley revealed the loss of her mother, she spoke about how the family had been preparing for Dale's inevitable passing. Dale had suffered a stroke 5 years prior and had been battling diabetes and other health issues. Yet, as Ainsley continued to speak through tears, it became evident that this was a moment where faith, strength, and love for family triumphed over sorrow. Ainsley recounted conversations with her children, wondering what the next Christmas would be like with their grandmother now in heaven. One poignant memory stood out. Ainsley's daughter Hayden asked if they could call her grandmother in heaven. This innocent question left Ainsley emotional, highlighting how deeply the loss affected her family. During this heartfelt tribute, Ainsley's co-hosts, Steve Doocy and Brian Kilmeade, offered comforting words and support as she concluded her moving tribute to her mother. In the midst of her grief, Ainsley reaffirmed her faith and her belief that her mother had a strong connection to Jesus. The segment closed with a photo of Dale surrounded by her family, encapsulating a life filled with love, faith, and perseverance. This tribute not only honored her late mother, but also illustrated the profound impact Dale had on Ainsley's life and those around her. Ainsley's story is one of resilience. She grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, in a loving family that placed great emphasis on Christian values. Although she was surrounded by love, her childhood wasn't without its challenges. Her parents' divorce when she was a teenager was a difficult time in her life, and she struggled to cope with the emotional fallout. However, rather than letting the situation define her, Ainsley focused on moving forward, learning valuable lessons of perseverance and forgiveness. She became determined to excel in school, pursue her passions, and ultimately build a successful career in journalism. After graduating from the University of South Carolina, Ainsley worked hard to establish herself in the competitive world of news reporting. This hard work eventually led her to a position at Fox and Friends. Though Ainsley faced significant obstacles, one of the biggest came when she was diagnosed with a serious medical condition that required surgery and extensive recovery time. This moment was one of the most challenging periods of her life. She wondered whether she would ever return to her career or have to abandon her dreams. But once again, her resilience and unwavering faith saw her through this dark period. With the support of her family, she fought through the emotional and physical obstacles, eventually returning to work and continuing her successful career in the spotlight. Ainsley's breakthrough came when she became a co-host of Fox and Friends in 2016, and her presence on the show further established her as a prominent voice in journalism. In addition to her work in television, Ainsley is also an author. Her children's book, Take Heart My Child, A Mother's Dream, 2018, became another milestone in her career. Ainsley is also deeply involved with charitable causes such as the USO, the American Red Cross, and the Special Olympics. Throughout her life, she has remained grounded in her faith, committed to her family, and determined to use her platform to positively impact the world around her. Ainsley's story is also one of tremendous vulnerability and strength. In addition to sharing the grief of losing her mother, Ainsley revealed another deeply personal journey she had never spoken about before: her battle with infertility. In an emotional moment on Fox and Friends, Ainsley shared with her audience that she and her husband, Will, had been trying for years to conceive but had faced numerous setbacks along the way. The challenges of dealing with infertility were overwhelming, but Ainsley spoke with remarkable courage about the heartache and the countless medical appointments she and her husband endured. Despite the physical and emotional strain, they never gave up hope. Through persistence and faith, Ainsley's perseverance paid off when she became pregnant with her daughter, Hayden. This announcement was not just a triumph for Ainsley and her husband, but a message of hope to many viewers who were struggling with similar challenges. The reaction from the studio audience was one of support and admiration for her bravery in sharing such a personal part of her journey. However, Ainsley's time in the public eye has also brought her into several controversies, including heated moments of public feuds, like her infamous Twitter battle with comedian Chelsea Handler. Handler had made a critical statement about the U.S.-Mexico border wall, calling it a waste of money, and Ainsley responded with an opposing opinion. The result was a back-and-forth exchange on social media in which each called the other out, with Handler accusing Ainsley of being ignorant and Ainsley calling Handler intolerant. These kinds of controversies have been a recurring theme throughout Ainsley's career, yet she continues to push forward with her career, never shying away from speaking her mind or advocating for her beliefs. The Twitter feud between Ainsley Earhardt and Chelsea Handler erupted when the two women began exchanging tweets filled with insults and barbs. What started as a disagreement on social media quickly escalated into an all-out battle of words, catching the attention of a large number of Twitter users. The feud became a trending topic, with many observers weighing in on the issue. Both women were steadfast in their opinions, showing no signs of backing down as they passionately defended their respective views. As the argument wore on, it became increasingly clear that neither Earhart nor Handler was willing to retreat, which only fueled the fire. However, after some time, the intensity of the confrontation began to fizzle out. Both women seemed to grow tired of the constant back and forth and chose to stop responding to each other's tweets. Ultimately, the conflict came to an end, though the implications of their online war extended beyond the initial exchange. The feud became a prime example of how social media, while an important platform for expression and political discourse, can also breed hostility and further polarize individuals with opposing viewpoints. While some found the feud amusing, it underscored a broader issue: the challenge of respectful dialogue in an age of online anonymity, where insults and personal attacks often take precedence over constructive debate. The theme of controversial public figures continued to follow Ainsley Earhardt in her career, particularly around her alleged biased reporting. Throughout her time as a co-host on Fox and Friends, Earhardt was repeatedly accused of exhibiting a clear favoritism towards certain political figures, most notably former President Donald Trump. This pattern became particularly noticeable during the 2016 U.S. presidential election, when she was criticized for regularly portraying Trump in a favorable light and minimizing the criticisms against him. Viewers pointed out how she often downplayed or omitted critical aspects of Trump's policies while emphasizing his accomplishments. Her critics maintained that Earhart's approach blurred the lines between objective reporting and opinionated commentary, as her segments frequently painted Trump's presidency in a positive light while dismissing the controversies surrounding his administration. As the Trump administration advanced, her alleged bias only became more pronounced. Earhart was accused of questioning Democratic figures with rigorous and even combative questioning. Yet her interactions with Trump officials appeared much softer and supportive, prompting many to speculate whether her journalism had devolved into political advocacy rather than factual reporting. Moreover, Earhart's personal beliefs were often linked to her professional actions, adding another layer of complexity to the discussion around her role as a journalist. Many critics felt that her apparent promotion of a conservative Christian agenda was becoming intertwined with her job, with some alleging that her personal political views began to dictate the direction of the segments she hosted. This raised ethical questions about the clear separation between a journalist's personal values and the journalistic integrity needed to provide impartial, fact-based news coverage. The ongoing accusations against her painted a portrait of a personality more focused on ideological alignment rather than presenting news from multiple perspectives. However, Earhart maintained that she was simply advocating for alternative viewpoints, defending her actions by claiming she was attempting to provide balance within a landscape she believed was often too biased toward one political ideology. In addition to allegations of biased political reporting, Ainsley Earhardt became involved in the promotion of unverified or conspiratorial claims, some of which sparked significant controversy. One of the most notable instances occurred during the 2019 Fox and Friends segment, where Earhart gave voice to the unfounded conspiracy theory that Ukraine interfered in the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Although the claim had been widely debunked by various intelligence agencies and fact-checkers, she presented it on her show without offering any reliable evidence to support it. As the backlash mounted, Earhart continued to assert that these claims had merit, which intensified calls for increased responsibility from the media in curbing misinformation. This controversy underscored a wider challenge in today's media ecosystem: the struggle between freedom of expression and the ethical duty to combat misleading narratives, particularly when they have the potential to erode public trust in the news. Critics argued that by promoting such a narrative, Earhart had not only jeopardized her own journalistic credibility, but had also contributed to the broader issue of the erosion of public faith in the media. While media personalities often attract criticism for their professional conduct, few controversies received as much attention as the 2020 lawsuit filed against Ainsley Earhardt. A former Fox News employee alleged that Earhart had made defamatory statements about them on her show. The lawsuit revealed deeper concerns about Earhart's conduct behind the scenes, including claims that she had engaged in a pattern of retaliatory behavior against the employee after they expressed dissatisfaction with her professional actions. The accusations included making false statements intended to tarnish the individual's reputation, resulting in significant emotional and financial distress for the former employee. Legal experts speculated that Earhart's actions may have crossed legal lines, raising serious questions about professional ethics within the media industry. Earhart's representatives quickly denied all accusations, claiming the lawsuit was without merit, but the allegations nevertheless put a stain on her image. Ultimately, the lawsuit was settled out of court, yet its impact remained, serving as a reminder of the importance of upholding professional standards, ethical behavior, and accountability for those in positions of public trust. Ainsley Earhart's role as a public figure was not limited to media controversies alone. In December 2021, Earhart conducted a highly scrutinized interview with former President Trump on Fox and Friends. The conversation began innocently enough, centered on the release of Trump's new book, but soon took a sharp turn to politics. Trump used the opportunity to vent his dissatisfaction with the current administration under President Biden, pointing out what he perceived as missteps in handling key issues like the economy, immigration, and the COVID-19 pandemic. The most contentious moments of the interview occurred when Trump criticized Biden's handling of these crises, particularly in the area of the supply chain, claiming that his administration had managed these problems better. Earhart navigated the conversation carefully, allowing Trump to express his grievances while framing some of his claims within the context of his presidency. However, some critics felt the interview appeared too one-sided, furthering concerns about Earhart's relationship with the Trump administration and fueling her detractors' belief in her bias. Beyond her televised career, Earhart's handling of social media also became a point of contention. As a high-profile media personality with millions of followers on platforms like Twitter and Instagram, Earhart faced accusations of using her social media presence to advance a personal political agenda rather than engaging in the open and honest exchange of ideas. Numerous examples of biased content circulated online, where Earhart shared controversial opinions without offering proper context or acknowledging opposing viewpoints. In some cases, Earhart was accused of blocking critics who challenged her on these platforms rather than engaging in productive conversation. Such actions drew widespread condemnation from both sides of the political aisle. Perhaps the most shocking moment of her social media controversies came in 2020 when Earhart posted a tweet questioning the seriousness of the COVID-19 pandemic, insinuating that the media and public health officials might have been exaggerating the impact. This statement sparked intense backlash and reinforced the growing concerns about the role of media figures in shaping public opinion, especially on highly sensitive topics like health and safety. Many of her critics called out her apparent disregard for scientific consensus, pointing out that promoting such messages was not only irresponsible, but potentially dangerous during a global crisis. Despite all of this, one of the more dramatic incidents involving Earhart occurred live on Fox and Friends when she abruptly left a discussion mid-interview with a Democratic congressman. The interview, which had begun as a debate about a contentious policy, quickly devolved into a heated exchange. As the congressman accused Earhart of bias, she took offense, defending her journalistic integrity. The confrontation grew increasingly combative until, in a startling move, Earhart stood up and walked off the set, leaving her co-host to awkwardly fill the gap in her absence. The incident sparked widespread debate among viewers, with some praising her for walking away from a toxic conversation, while others criticized her for failing to maintain composure on live television. The event fueled a larger conversation about the challenges that female journalists face when navigating heated political debates, with many calling attention to the disproportionate scrutiny placed on women in media roles, particularly when they assert themselves in confrontational situations. Each of these incidents reflects a wider narrative about the evolving role of journalists in a polarized media landscape, one where ideological bias, social media conduct, personal beliefs, and on-air professionalism all collide in sometimes explosive ways. Earhart, as both a subject of praise and critique, encapsulates the challenges faced by contemporary journalists trying to balance responsibility, opinion, and public scrutiny.